When public reactions turn into a verdict, the moment everyone picked sides. This episode reached a breaking point that instantly divided viewers, and what people reacted to most was not just what was said, but how it was said, who said it, and who stayed silent. So stay with me because the real weight of this situation becomes clear only toward the end. The tension explodes right from the start when a private insecurity is brought into a public setting. And the reaction online shows that many viewers felt an immediate emotional shock. Because what happened crossed an invisible line between honesty and humiliation, making people question not only intentions but also emotional awareness inside the relationship. What struck me most while reading the reactions is how quickly the audience focused on tone rather than wording. Because even comments that might have been framed as jokes were perceived as power plays. And in my opinion, this moment revealed how sensitive long-term partners must be when discussing appearance, especially in front of others. A recurring reaction from viewers centers on discomfort, with many saying that this was not a conversation meant for an audience of friends, which suggests that people are less forgiving when vulnerability is exposed publicly. And this tells us a lot about how viewers judge respect more than raw honesty. From a psychological perspective, the way humor was used here triggered strong reactions because several viewers interpreted it as laughing at someone rather than laughing with them, and when humor creates imbalance instead of connection, it often becomes a signal of deeper emotional distance. What happened also shifted attention towards silence, because multiple reactions questioned why certain people did not confront or clarify the situation immediately. And in my view, silence in moments like this often gets interpreted as agreement, even when that may not be the intent. Reading through the comments, it becomes clear that many viewers projected their own past experiences onto this scene, especially those who have felt criticized or diminished by someone close, which explains why the emotional response online was so intense and deeply personal. Another layer that stood out to me is how viewers separated love from behavior, with many saying that affection alone is not enough if actions repeatedly cause insecurity. And this distinction shows a mature audience that looks beyond surface-level drama. The reactions also reveal a strong protective instinct toward vulnerability, because once someone openly admits insecurity, viewers tend to expect the partner to respond with reassurance rather than commentary. And failing to do that immediately shifts public perception. What I find fascinating is how fast the audience formed a collective judgment, almost like a courtroom moment, where tone, timing, and context were all weighed at once, proving again how reality television turns small interactions into defining narratives. As you think about this moment, I am genuinely curious whether you felt discomfort, empathy, or confusion watching it unfold. So feel free to share your reaction in the comments, because these discussions are what give moments like this their real meaning. As the conversation continued, what truly intensified public reaction was the perception that emotional reassurance came too late. Because once vulnerability is exposed without immediate care, viewers tend to believe the damage has already been done, regardless of any explanations that follow. In my opinion, this moment became less about a single comment and more about a pattern that people felt they recognized, where humor, honesty, and control blur together, creating a dynamic that feels uneven rather than supportive. Many reactions pointed out that long-term relationships require a different level of emotional discipline, especially when insecurities are already known. And the audience clearly expected growth that matched the length of the commitment. What also fueled discussion was the contrast between how gently vulnerability was expressed and how casually it was received. Because viewers tend to side instinctively with the person who risks emotional exposure in front of others. From a behavioral standpoint, This situation highlighted how public settings amplify emotional consequences. Since embarrassment in front of friends carries a weight that private conversations simply do not. Something the audience was quick to recognize. Another important detail raised by reactions is the idea that love should reduce insecurity over time, not reinforce it. And when viewers sense the opposite happening, they respond with frustration rather than patience. As the episode moved forward, reactions became less about blame and more about emotional responsibility, with many viewers questioning whether awareness alone is enough without visible effort to change behavior. What stayed with me after reading these comments is how strongly people reacted to the lack of repair. Because apologies without emotional grounding often feel performative, and the audience is surprisingly skilled at detecting that difference. This moment ultimately reshaped how viewers interpret the relationship as a whole. Not because of drama, but because it exposed how easily trust can be shaken when sensitivity is not prioritized. If this scene made you reflect on boundaries, communication, or emotional safety in relationships, I encourage you to leave your thoughts in the comments and support the conversation by liking and subscribing, because these discussions are where real understanding begins.